Recently, I had a guest come to my class, an Indian Sufi poet, Manav Sachdeva, and he mentioned that in arguments, people in New York may often refer to scientific research that proves the point, whereas in the Muslim world, people will just recite a verse from Hafiz, and that's it. That's more valid than any scientific experiment. That's the end of the argument. And I know that the last 30 years for both Afghans and Iranians, it's been devastating in many ways. But I think it's important to mention that these sentiments are not lost among Persian-speaking Muslims, and that whether or not they're card-carrying Sufis, their worldview is more often than not shaped by the poetry of Rumi, poems like this, and Hafiz, than treatises of jurisprudence. That is to say, their attraction to the same poems that are so popular now in English translation points to commonalities and a potential bridge between cultures that is much more substantial and deeply rooted than essential stereotypes about Afghan and Iranian Muslims could ever allow one to imagine is possible. Thank you.
I think that the beginning of my interest in an experimental poetic came from my life as a Muslim, and in specific my life as a gay Muslim, which is to say that if I was to have a life at all, I was going to have to figure out a way to confront questions of authority and truth and received wisdom and institutional understanding. It was not an intellectual exercise for me, but I think that my body and soul were at stake. In 2003, my father worked in Iran, and I asked him to bring me back some poetry, and he brought me back a book of poetry by Sohrab Separi, and I first heard him say, "I am a Muslim, the rose is my qibla, the stream my prayer rug, the sunlight my clay tablet. My mosque is the meadow, I rinse my arms for prayers along with the thrum and pulse of windows. I begin my recitation when I hear the wind's azan from the cypress tree minaret. I start to pray after the grass proclaims Allahu Akbar and after the stream's surface sings Qad qamat as-salat."
أيا جارة من صفى الدهر بيننا تعالي.
I was raised in Pakistan, and Urdu is my language. And I had 8 brothers. So and 3 mothers. And the extended family was vast. So to get any kind of attention at all, you had to do something different. My brothers were sports people. They played polo and cricket, and they were very loud and very noisy. So getting attention through noise was not an option. And I realized quite early that if I could get my father's attention, who was, after all, the head of the family, I would have it, as they say in America, made in the shade. So that's what I proceeded to do. I learned vast amounts of poetry because my father loved it. And then the servants always taught me some doggerels. So when I was spoken to, I had this affectation of always responding with a couplet. I didn't speak normally. So if someone said, "Well, how are you, Samina?" I would say, "Mujhe khud apni halat ka nahi malum. Logon se suna hai ke pareshan hu main." Means I don't know myself how I am, but I hear from other people that I'm really disturbed. You can see that the 8 brothers were defeated.
poetry has been such an integral part of the unprecedented demonstrations that we have seen across large parts of the Arab world over the last few months, and the way in which these great national poets, whether it's Abul Qasim al-Shabi in Tunisia or Ahmed Fuad al-Nigam in Egypt, how these great poets have been co-opted by these young people, and how their verses have been transformed into political chants as a way of not just creating this new kind of identity, but as a way of pushing back against the decades of corruption and incompetence and autocracy that has forced these young people into a situation of marginalization and dispossession.